The Dayton Area Broadcasters Hall of Fame is pleased to welcome Steve Kerrigan posthumously to the 2011 class.
Our next honoree is a guy I really miss, and I know a lot of you do too as well. If you see a picture of Steve, he's probably wearing a Notre Dame cap. A passion that he and I shared. Every time we got together, we always had to talk about our Irish. And there's a great picture that was taken of a group of us and one of the many fundraisers that were done for Steve in recent years. And Nancy Wilson was nice enough to give me a copy of that. It sits on my desk, and I look at it every day, and I just miss him. Steve Kerrigan's our next honoree, and joining us now is somebody who knows him better than probably most, Chris Geeson, who worked on the air with him for so many years here in town as the Kerrigan and Christopher Show on TUE. Chris still on the air in Cincinnati and made the trip up tonight to talk about his friend and ours. Welcome, Chris, to talk about Steve Kerrigan. Chris?
Thanks for having me. Somebody said one time that a friend is somebody who lets you have total freedom to be yourself. Steve Kerrigan was my friend and my radio partner for 13 years on WTUE. Steve and I hit it off the first day we met. We were paired up on the radio by our managers. I was supposedly in there to assist him with new equipment. But little did I know that it was an audition. Surprisingly, when they made it permanent and after we worked together for the first week or so, I came home from work one day and I told my wife, I said, this isn't going to last 6 months. I was wrong. All of a sudden, the show began to click and we went on with the listeners here in Dayton to laugh and have fun at their and our expense for the next 13 years. It's been said that a friend is somebody who will bail you out of jail. A best friend is sitting next to you in the cell saying, damn, that was fun. Well, Steve Kerrigan sat next to me on the radio every morning, and we had fun. And we never felt like we were in jail. We got dipped in liquid chocolate at Easter time. Interrupted listeners' mornings by invading their bathrooms on a so-called bathroom tour. Even stealing the mayor's garbage here in Dayton one morning just to see what was in the bag. That guy's a U.S. congressman right now on that. Steve Kerrigan and I had the best part of our careers together. We raised our kids together, went through some tough times together too. But Steve always found a way to make me laugh. We both loved having fun with our listeners and doing things for other listeners too. Might be less fortunate. Like riding bikes 150 miles in the MS Bike-a-thon. Spending a weekend enclosed in ice to collect truckloads of food for the hungry. Or riding a fire truck to a busy intersection to collect donations during the muscular dystrophy telethon. We had a great time. Steve and I remained very, very good friends up until the day he lost his battle with cancer back in March. When he died, I know a part of me died too. It's been said that a true friend is one who believes in you when you have ceased to believe in yourself. Well, I know Steve Kerrigan believed in me, and I believed in him as well. Steve, I know you're gone, but your spirit, laughter, and caring still lives within all of us. Thank you for all the laughs. To his wife Monique and to his Bob, his brothers and sisters and their families, to his family, his son Aaron, his daughters Lucy and Sophie, who Steve was so very proud, meant the world to me as well. To the people we work with like Don Schwartz, Deborah Parenti, Tom Carroll, everybody we work with at WTUE, and to the listeners of Dayton Radio, and to my family too. Thanks for making me part of Steve's life, and part of yours. Steve, welcome to the Hall of Fame.
Steve Kerrigan has been a Miami Valley radio broadcast institution since 1986. He was paired with Christopher Geisen on the Kerrigan and Christopher Morning Show on WTUE. and the rest is history. The two were a major success, entertaining and inspiring nearly a generation of rock and roll fans. While at WTUE, Steve created many humorous characters like Biff Wellington, poking fun at the well-to-do, and small-town news events.
Steve Kerrigan was a fixture on WTUE for so long. With Chris Geisen, the Kerrigan and Christopher morning show was a great morning show in Dayton, very popular on WTUE. And WONE being the sister station to WTUE, I crossed paths with Steve all the time. We had many conversations. A great guy and a very funny guy, very funny guy. He will always be remembered for just being not only a nice guy, but a great radio entertainer. He and Chris, the predecessors to Bob and Tom in our area, and actually I thought they were even better than Bob and Tom. We were fortunate to have Steve here in Dayton for a number of years on radio.
When Steve was introduced to K99.1 FM listeners, he said, "If Bon Jovi can play country, so can I." At K99.1 FM, Steve teamed with Nancy Wilson to form the Nancy and Kerrigan Morning Show for 5 years until Steve voluntarily left his mic behind to provide full-time care for himself and his wife's fight against cancer.
Steve Kerrigan, I think the thing I remember about Steve the most is his laugh, and how he was one of those people that could come into the room and just start laughing, and you would start laughing, and no matter what was going on with your day, he would automatically make you feel better. And he was this very childlike person, not childish, well sometimes, but very childlike in that he could find humor in just about anything, and that always made me feel so much better. And for me, it was an honor and privilege to work with a radio icon like Steve Kerrigan and be able to bring him back to the Miami Valley, and to know that within that exterior that was so full of humor and laughter, the interior was the best, most pure golden heart I'd ever known.
What a legacy he left, one that'll be hard to follow. During his 33 years as a broadcaster, Steve made his mark on the Dayton area community. He interviewed and introduced on stage many rock stars like Aerosmith and country stars like Kenny Chesney. With the help of his close friends Nancy Wilson and Christopher Geisen, Steve literally raised millions of dollars for charity and participated with Lance Armstrong in raising money for the Livestrong Cancer Foundation. In his unrelenting battle against cancer, Steve founded the Kerrigan's Crusaders Blood Drive team, helping fill blood banks at the Community Blood Center in Dayton and throughout the Miami Valley.
I think the thing with Steve was that he had a mind that was working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Incredibly quick-witted. It was virtually impossible to ever one-up him. If you're trying to tell a joke on the air, I think I did it maybe one time. And when we got done, I said the line, and we both laughed, and he cued me to hit the jingle and move on. We went ahead and did it and turned off the microphones. He looked at me and said, "Darn, I wish I'd have thought of that." But he cared about his listeners very, very much. I saw him on a couple of occasions. He'd see a listener at like a county fair or something, and he'd be there for a remote, and the listener might be short $1 for a hot dog, and he'd reach into his wallet and pull it out and give the listener a dollar, because he knew without the listeners he was nothing. And you don't see that kind of thing in broadcasting all the time these days, and it was kind of the combination of I think his quick wit and his caring for the listeners that really endeared people to him.
Thousands of people will miss listening to Steve's wonderful voice and laughter on the air. Steve was a true voice for the generations of Miami Valley's rock and country fans, and his legacy will live on through the people he touched and the voices and style he created on Dayton radio. Steve, your listeners loved you. The Dayton Area Broadcasters Hall of Fame is pleased to welcome Steve Kerrigan posthumously to the 2011 class.
Here's the way his wife
Thank you so much for that dedication. presentation, and good evening. Steve's claim to fame was his award-winning smile and a laugh that was hard to miss. For years, many woke up to that laugh in very recognizable voice, shared their personal stories, participated in contests such as the Indy car races and celebrations of St. Patrick's Day at Flanagan's Pub, to the country concert, and of course the radiothon at Dayton Children's Hospital. I believe that Steve was living proof that when a person is able to work in their dream job and make a living, he or she is able to excel. He truly did. He made lifelong friends of most he came in contact with. He was the most conscientious and dedicated individual I've ever known. He made sure that even when he was dealt the cancer card and wasn't 100%, he still got up every morning at 3 a.m. and did his prep work for the next show and greeted each day with enthusiasm. By working in the media, he was able to lend his voice to a cause that became his most passionate reason for living. Steve felt so lucky to be participating in the radiothon and children's. He had incredible tenderness in his heart, and often it was tested after a long day of interviewing children and families that had gone through treatment. A breakdown usually occurred when he came home saying how glad he was that it wasn't one of our children or one of us, and then it was. Multiple myeloma and breast cancer. Just like his idol, Lance Armstrong, we both drew on his strength to inspire us to weather the cancer storm that impacted both of our lives and those of our families. Watching him through his chemo and various other procedures gave me the courage to face my cancer diagnosis and fight for another day. Play like a champion was always his motto, and that of the University of Notre Dame, his father's alma mater, and it quickly became mine. Even when it was the worst of times, he would still manage a smile or a joke to make us both feel better. I want to thank all of you here tonight for making our family part of yours. Fundraisers were held in our honor, and people gave their time, effort, and money, even though they may not have known us personally, but if only through Steve's voice. It was incredibly touching to know that people were there for us when we needed it. That is a true testament to human spirit. Thank you for honoring my husband in all the ways that you have tonight, both professionally and privately. I know he is smiling once again. It was an honor to be his wife.